A lot of people are scared off from using Osnaburg for a wrap or a ring sling because of that scary term, scouring. Osnaburg is kind of a dirty fabric, so it does require a special cleaning process, and as soon as you start telling people about it, they get super scared. It sounds really complicated. It's all these extra steps. It sounds like some big chemical equation. I'm not sure I can handle that. I don't want to buy a bunch of extra expensive stuff. So I just wanted to walk you through the process so that you could see how simple it is and that it's not scary at all. Promise. Here's my supplies that I got from Walmart, all in one stop. There's a big Sterilite bin with a lid, my Osnaburg, the tiniest little bottle of Blue Dawn dish soap, and super washing soda. You want washing soda, not baking soda. This is on the laundry aisle next to the borax and the Fells naphtha soap and all that stuff. If you're not in the US, you're looking for Synthrapol or Fairy, not Dawn. That's all I need. You need thread to hem it after you're done scouring it. But other than that, this is my receipt. My bin was $5 and change. $1 for dish soap. I'm going to use a tiny, tiny amount of that, and the rest of it is just going to be able to be used for dishes or spot cleaning clothes or whatever I need it for. $4 for this giant thing. This is a great laundry additive. This is the primary ingredient in OxyClean if you need a laundry booster. And then $20 worth of Osnaburg, which is going to make me about a size 7, possibly a long 7, not quite an 8 wrap. So $31 total, $33 after tax. If you needed to buy the thread, if you didn't already have thread to hem it, then bump that up to $35. I suspect the main reason a lot of people get intimidated by scouring is because a lot of serious dye artists who have put together a lot of the tutorials do this a lot. And so it's worth it to them to have a permanent setup for scouring fabric because they're doing it so often. And so a lot of them will have some giant stock pot bigger than this that they can put the fabric in and actually simmer it on the stove in order to keep the fabric hot while they're scouring it. And that tends to scare people because then they talk about how that pot is no longer food safe and you have to have this special pot just for that. And the important part is you want to keep the water hot the whole time. If you're not gonna do this regularly, you're just doing it once, you get a big plastic tub like I got, and all we're gonna do is boil water on the stove in whatever I've got. It's probably going to take me a few batches, but I'm just going to be regularly putting more and more boiling water over that fabric into that tub in order to keep it hot. The other hesitation a lot of people have is they think that the measurements that they use for the soap and the washing soda have to be really exact, that it's some sort of science experiment, and if they get the measurements wrong, they're going to totally ruin their fabric or they're not going to clean it properly. I checked a couple sources to see what the correct ratio was for the amount of soap and soda ash to use, or washing soda to use, based on how much fabric you were using. I'm using about 2.5 pounds worth of fabric. That's 7 yards of Osnaburg. And so one source that I read said that for each pound of fabric, you want 2 teaspoons of soap and 8 teaspoons of washing soda. So that would give me 6 teaspoons of soap, 5 teaspoons, I can't do math, 5 teaspoons of soap and about 20 teaspoons or so of washing soda. But then I looked at another source and it just said a 1/2 teaspoon of each for each pound. And so that's only a teaspoon and a half of each. So I think the point is not to worry about it too much. I'm going to show you how I measure it. I've unfolded my fabric so that it's bunched loosely in the bin so that it can move around easily. I'm going to take my dish soap first. So I need somewhere between, what was it, 3 and 5 or something teaspoons. So that looks like between 3 and 5 teaspoons, right? Sure. You can see I just used a little bit off the top, and I've got all the rest of this for spot cleaning terrible toddler clothes. And so this one, I need somewhere between 3 teaspoons and like 20 teaspoons. That's somewhere between 3 and 20, right? That's how I measure. Don't spill boiling water on your feet. I'm gonna go boil a couple more batches of water. It's gonna take me a few to fill this all the way up, but in the meantime, as I keep adding boiling water, it's gonna keep that fabric hot. And then once I get the fabric under the water level so that it can move freely, I'm just gonna let it sit for about an hour. I just wanted to point out that this has only been sitting for a few minutes. I'm not even done adding all my water yet. You can tell it's not fully submerged yet. And if you can see, that water is already about the color of weak tea, maybe a strong chamomile. That's all the stuff that was in that. And this is why we scour. I've got a pretty good amount of water here. I'm going to do one more batch so that the fabric can move around a little bit more freely. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit with my elven dagger. Don't want to use any of my food utensils. Ooh, that's heavy and hard to do with one hand. Just to make sure that all sides of it are getting soaked evenly. So basically all I did is just flip it over, and I'm going to do one more batch of water to make sure it has plenty of room to move. And then I'm just going to let it sit for an hour and soak in its own mess. Last bit of water. Close it up. All done. Stinky, brown, still scalding hot water. Time to dump the water out and rinse it.